Warning, this video was created under limited circumstances. Footage missing, broken or not filmed properly should not be held against the creator, as he sacrificed a bit of his fun to record this for you. Also, a lot of his camera roll on his phone got deleted for absolute no reason, so some images will be higher quality than others, as Button Tank had to get some photos from his mother as backup. Thanks, Samsung.
Yo, I'm back from Procrastination Island. What's new? Hi everyone, welcome back to another video of mine that definitely wasn't planned to be here after the entire summer. Today's video is about my time at Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios in Hollywood, Los Angeles. I remember hearing about when Super Nintendo World came to Japan before anywhere else, and I was a bit sad to see that it was so far away. I desperately wanted to know what the experience was like. After some research, I gotta say, Japan's layout of the theme park is way better than the one in Hollywood. But while I didn't get to go to the one in Japan, I can safely say that after doing research on it, Japan has one extra ride and a mini game, an extra shop, and a few different items on the Toadstool Cafe menu, so overall, I didn't miss out on anything life-changing. Don't get me wrong, the one in Hollywood was still a huge blast. But anyway, I just wanted to make a video detailing my experience there. I also went to everything else in Universal Studios, but for the sake of time and a straight theme to this video, I just decided to record Super Nintendo World and nothing else. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? So, we walked into the warp pipe entrance complete with glowing lights to make it feel like you're transitioning dimensions. While this is cool, it doesn't really do too great of a job, considering, I'm still walking with my own 2 feet. We see an updated Bomb-On Battlefield painting and another painting detailing how Bowser Jr. stole a golden mushroom. I don't see what's so special about that, he could just open another item box. But then, it happens. Now, rewatching this footage, I'm not all too flabbergasted, but as this was my first time at Super Nintendo World, hell, my first time at a theme park, I could have sworn I was about to cry because of how magical this place felt, despite only stepping in for 2 seconds. Walking around this place, I felt like I could live here. I've been playing Mario games my whole life, so I immediately felt immersed in this world. I finally realized I would be spending that day in the shoes of a Mushroom Kingdom citizen, and it left me absolutely ecstatic for the rest of the day. Soon after entering, we went over to the machine to pick up some power-up bands. For those not in the know-how, power-up bands are slap bracelets with a scanner on top. The scanner is used around the park for various mini-games and secrets, with the added functionality of being an amiibo for the respective character of choice, which is an absolutely brilliant business tactic, and makes the price of the bands acceptable, although they don't really tend to advertise that it's an amiibo. Oh yeah, respective characters. I chose Toad because, I don't know, if you were to ask me what my favorite Mario characters were, I would say Toad, Shy Guy, I don't know, Bramble. Anyway, we got our slappers, put them on, and moved out. We decided to do Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge first. I'm glad we stopped here when we did because, oh boy, that line was long and we got here pretty early. Something I heard about heading here was they actually give you some eye candy while you waited in line for this ride, and wow, they weren't kidding. The first area of the line is Yoshi's Island theme with the crayon art style. It looks magnificent. I always loved that kind of art style. It looks so childishly charming. The first part was a cave area, feeling just as cramped as the games, with glowing crystals abound. It's nice to know they care about aesthetics as well as visuals. Next up is the same Yoshi's Island style, but this time in a pink plains area. There's lots of flowers and even a tree with some fruit and a yellow Yoshi egg. But the coolest part is that you get to see Yoshi doing Yoshi things. It's pretty neat to think that he's just there with us. After that, we get to go to Bowser Castle, which has a giant Bowser statue and some paintings. One of the paintings was signed by Shigeru Miyamoto, which I took a picture of, and then my camera roll got deleted as previously mentioned. Next, we see Kamek's library, which has some blueprints for building Bullet Bills and Mecha Koopas, as well as some books and other various items on the shelves. There's also Bowser's throne, some Princess Peach portraits, Mario Kart trophies, and other experimentation kind of things. If you read some of the titles on the spines of the books, you can find some funny and charming titles. It's quite the spectacle with all the things to look at. Up ahead is a little factory area for making a bunch of airship baddies such as Bullet Bills, Bob-ombs, and Mecha Koopas. Again, a little bit of an eyeful, but nonetheless a cute representation of how these mechanical Koopa Kingdom weapons are built. We make it to the ride finally, and wait with a group of people so we can go onto the ride, along with some pre-race TV material. Nothing too special, just some neat animations while the race starts, with the illustrations of the rules for wearing the AR gear. After a while, a member of the race crew sends us to another TV room and fills us in on details. Basically, you had a pair of the AR goggles that you attach to a plastic, adjustable headband designed like a Mario cap that has a similar shape to a golf visor. Something I forgot to do was put my wristband on the steering wheel before the race to keep track of my points, so I don't get to show you guys how I got my ass handed to me on a silver platter. Anywho, the actual game instructions were next. First, I'll explain the teams, in which there were 6, one for each character on the wristband. Also, the race crew guy called Daisy in a sarcastic voice, totally not unforgettable.
And the totally not forgettable BFF Daisy!
For steering, you would steer the wheel to the direction of the arrow that popped up every now and again. Pretty simple, but it proved to be a much bigger problem for the following reason. Along with steering, the main objective of the game was to fire Koopa shells from item boxes scattered through the course at Bowser's baddies. You only have a limited amount of them, and if you run out, you have to wait until you snag another box. It's a great incentive to aim carefully. My problem is the simultaneous combination of steering and shooting. This is great for a game like, say, the arcade machine simply titled Batman, because you can see the road ahead of you, and you can multitask whether it's shoot the bad guys or drive the Batmobile, and if you're good enough, both. But for this Mario Kart ride, the speed of you riding the vehicle in real life doesn't translate the same as in the AR experience. Real life is much slower and has more random twists and turns, even if you're heading in a straight path. Shooting works great because you look to aim, meaning it's 100% your fault if you miss, but there's so many enemies on screen I'm trying to hit. Plus, I have little visual feedback on where I am on the track, on top of the turn arrow just not being big enough. I could not, for the life of me, remember to turn, and that becomes a real issue when not turning makes you spin out, resulting in less chances to hit the enemies, and no turn coin bonus. Also, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that even if one person doesn't turn, the entire crew spins out, which makes sense to an extent in terms of the team aspect, but it must suck for you when you can actually turn properly, but it doesn't matter because your team forgets to. By the way, I actually played that Batman arcade game in an arcade in LA. The arcade itself kinda stunk, but at least I got to try that sweet Batman game. Anyway, the first team to get 100 coins in Mario Kart Ride won, and go figure, Team Mario won. Next we went for the 1-Up Factory, which is the gift shop. The interior was pretty neat, nothing crazy spectacular. I like seeing the steam pipes, pressure gauges, gears, and stuff like that, but it went for that tried and true red, blue, yellow color scheme, which is what previous Mario games have done before, and I'm not really 100% for that style. I just feel like it's so disorganized and honestly overly childish. The stuff in the shop was pretty standard for the most part though. There were actually multiple Super Nintendo World stores throughout Universal Studios, so across those stores I got a headband with a plush Yoshi on top of it to make it look like he's laying on my head, a plush Shy Guy keychain, a Super Nintendo World display figure that has a platform and a giant Super Nintendo World text on top with Mario in front of the platform, and a shirt with, lo and behold, new Mario renders. Never thought I'd see the day that Nintendo stopped using renders for Mario Party 9 and 10. Nothing else at the shops really caught my interest besides a Superstar popcorn bucket. I thought it was neat until I looked at the price, looked at the amount of popcorn space there was, looked Nintendo straight in the eye, and gave him a big ol' fuck you, I ain't buying that shit. Honestly, it was all pretty expensive, but that's to be expected as it is a public event in 2023. I did like the music in the shops though. I remember hearing Pinna Park, Super Mario Maker 2's title theme, and Super Mario Bros. 3's Overworld theme, all remixed to sound more fitting with shop music. It was pretty cool. I have nothing else to say about the shop. After that, we decided to check out Toadstool's Cafe, only to find out that it was supposedly booked for the entire day. Which was pretty sad until we found out that they had spots opened up around dinner time later on. But before we left Super Nintendo World briefly to go find something to eat for lunch, the person at the doors of the cafe told us we could go inside to check it out, so we just wouldn't be able to order anything. And that we did! There was a spot for power-up bands at the front area where you would either scan the big present or the little present, and maybe you would get something nice, or you would just get a turnip. Nice reference to the mushroom houses in Mario 3D Land/World. It's nice to see that Nintendo remembers little details like that. Up next was the guard that formed a line area, but with no actual line. There were menu broadcasts up on the walls, but most importantly, Chef Toad was there too. I don't really like this guy, as he doesn't really differentiate from other Toads besides the clothes, and he talks too much, leaving me to feel uncomfortable with a fully fluent English-speaking Toad. We saw the ordering booth, and I gotta say, I don't get why this booth was like so many other restaurant booths. The only real difference was the power-ups and whatnots on the shelf, but other than that, nothing really stood out. But then, we saw the actual restaurant. Let me tell you, this was no cafe. This was, now, my favorite looking restaurant, period. Everything about the scenery just oozes Mushroom Kingdom. Everything in here is so unbelievably charming, from the dark oak wood aesthetic, the power-ups, the pipes, the patterns, oh lord the patterns, and the music. I've been to so many restaurants where they only play music based on the type of food they're serving, like a sushi restaurant, playing random Japanese music. People need to realize the aesthetic music creates when tied to an environment, and Toadstool Cafe did that to a T. It's really nice, has a sort of jazzy vibe to it, nothing too in your face or distracting while you eat. Anyway, we looked around and dipped since we weren't eating. But I guess since nothing changed visually when we got to actually eat, I'll explain our food as well. First up was Toadstool Cheesy Garlic Knots, and oh boy were they good! I am an absolute sucker for garlic butter and parmesan, so this was a dream come true. The only complaint I have is that it would have been so delicious if they put stretchy cheese on the inside just to mesh well with the soft bread and give a nice surprise. The next thing to talk about was the Mario Burger, consisting of bacon, mushrooms, lettuce, tomato, and cheese, along with buns and a patty, of course. I gotta say, this was literally the burger of all time. It was pretty well everything you'd expect, nothing more, nothing less. Safe to say, no comment. I see a lot of people really hyping up this Luigi burger, but in my opinion, it was a tad disappointing. You'd think for a burger with grilled chicken, pesto, basil, Swiss cheese, green peppers, and spinach, it would have a wild ass flavor. Unfortunately, it just kinda lacked the necessary taste to make all these ingredients powerful and mix well. Also, you could have taken out those green peppers and it wouldn't have changed a damn thing, it still would have tasted the exact same. I think it would have been smart to use fried chicken instead of grilled, because it probably would have soaked up that pesto basil better, plus grilled chicken is just kinda overly chewy for this sort of thing. Both Mario and Luigi burgers come with truffle fries, which were pretty standard. Could have used seasoning, but they're just fries. The Princess Peach cupcake was cool though. A little overly sweet, but man, that was a nice buttercream frosting. The Superstar Lemon Squash was absolutely adorable, by the way. The Mango Stars and Tropical Bobas were so cute and charming, and combining honey and lemon soda was an exquisite choice. I also just got a Super Mushroom collectible drink bottle because it was decently sized and I could bring it home. Overall, that was a pretty great meal. Next, we found a hidden cave, got some coins from the question mark blocks, and left. Nothing special there. We also saw those people in Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach costumes. We didn't greet them or anything, as I don't really like those kinds of costumes because it's so static and their eyes are like kind of creepy. Didn't want to kill the vibe of how much fun I was having here. Also, throughout the duration of our time at Super Nintendo World, we found 2 8-bit secrets, one of Luigi and one of Bowser. Alright, so now we talk about the main part of the park, which is to collect key coins to unlock your way into Bowser Jr.'s castle. You collect these key coins by completing at least 3 of the 4 key challenges, which are Goomba Crazy Crank, Piranha Plant Nap Mishap, Koopa Troopa Power Punch, nice pun, and the Thwomp Power Panel Panic. Note that all these minigames are pretty simple, so there won't be tons to talk about. Let's start with Goomba Crazy Crank, where you rotate a crank to try and get the Goomba on the rolling hill to fall off. I kinda went absolutely crazy and ended up rotating it 10 times faster than I needed to and won the minigame in like 6 seconds. I did this because you can actually fail these minigames and go back to the end of the lineup to try again. Luckily, I beat all the key challenges on the first try, so no unnecessary punishment for doing one thing wrong. Next up is Piranha Plant Nap Mishap, where you have to smack the top of the plus clocks to get the piranha plant back to sleep. I like this one. It was kinda cool because lining up for it, we were weary on if we could even do it or not. But then someone behind us in line was kinda feeling the same way, so we teamed up and did it all together. The power of random strangers' kindness always prevails. Anyway, moving on to the Koopa Troopa Power Punch, still an epic pun, where you had to time tapping your wristband under the POW block to hit it while the Koopa shell was inside the pipe so that it would launch out the top pipe passage and snag the key coin. While I was waiting in line, I formulated a strategy to guarantee victory. You have to hit the POW block as soon as the Koopa shell has fully entered the pipe. I tried it out when it was my turn and I got it on the first try. Yeah, I know, my wiener is incredibly massive. It was cool. Moving on. I kid you not, Thwomp Power Panel Panic was the easiest thing in Super Nintendo World. There was a big screen with a bunch of flip switch panels. You had to turn the blue tiles to yellow tiles, but if you have the reaction time of a newborn, you can flip all the tiles to yellow before the first Thwomp comes in to flip some tiles back to blue. Every 2-ish seconds, a yellow tile will flip back to blue, but it hardly matters when my rate of tiles is flipping 4 to 5 seconds. It was dead ass simple, but after that, we got to go to Bowser Jr.'s castle. There's some cool stuff in the line, like a statue of Bowser Jr., paintings, a Bowser Jr. block, and a junk pile. But the main attraction was in here, which was Bowser Jr.'s Shadow Showdown, the final battle for the Golden Mushroom. In this game, you had to swing your arms around and make it so the shadow deflects bomb-bombs, which you try to smack towards Bowser Jr. when possible. You also want to make sure to jump up and hit the flying question mark blocks to gain the power-ups, the Super Mushroom, the Fire Flower, and the Superstar, each with their respective properties. But getting hit by the enemies will also get rid of the power-ups, so yeah, that's as to be expected. Eventually, Bowser Jr. is defeated, and you, along with everyone else playing, have to make a big jump to the flagpole, which I'm not entirely sure, but it kinda seems like it's just scripted to succeed on the second try, and then the Golden Mushroom is yours, as well as a coin tally. The technology behind all this must be absolutely spectacular, so I think this deserves my favorite attraction award. Something small I would do at the end of your trip to Super Nintendo World is check out the balcony area by going up the stairs on the side of the cliff beside Bowser Jr.'s castle. It has some question mark blocks, bricks, and a POW block, but the main point of this area is the binoculars, modeled after the ones from 3D Land/World. If you look through them, you can see some AR additions to the natural landscape, like flying question mark blocks, but also some small secrets you really have to peek for. The binoculars are neat and all, but really? The star of the show here is the pure, unfiltered view. I looked over that balcony and stared at the people that came here, the natural landscape, the supposed habitats and species of the Mushroom Kingdom. Then I realized something. I'm never coming back to a Universal Studios theme park. Not because I didn't enjoy my experience, far from it. This was probably my favorite outdoor excursion of all time, but that's just it. It was so good. I felt a moral standpoint grow in me that told me to never taint the very thing I was in the midst of enjoying by even simply returning. This place was magical for me, and I don't think going back and hopelessly trying to bring back some of the best memories I've ever had would do it any justice. This was my first ever theme park. What else can I say? This was a wonderful first experience. Even if they added anything new, it wouldn't be enough to justify me making a trip back. Maybe if Nintendo branches off from Universal Studio and creates their own theme park, complete with not just Mario IPs, but IPs from every Nintendo franchise, and makes a big deal out of it in advertising, then I'll go to that theme park to remember the fond memories of that trip that I just went on to Super Nintendo World, while also seeing how far we've come. I genuinely can't put it into words how absolutely magnificent it was getting to go on this trip. Use the opportunity to go to all the other stuff in Universal Studios too, as you can make a full day out of it. Nonetheless, I can 100% recommend it for anyone planning on heading into Universal Studios, and especially if you're an avid Mario fan. Well, I think it's about time to wrap things up here. I had a really fun time at Super Nintendo World, nay Universal Studios, nay Los Angeles. Like Universal Studios, I won't get into it, just to keep the topic of this video consistent, but I will highly recommend it if you're willing to put up with the smell of garbage on the streets. If you like the video, consider hitting the like button. And if you like what I do, perhaps it would be cool if you subscribe to me. And if you don't want to miss any of the videos, you can change the notification bell to suit your tastes. As usual, thank you for watching my videos. I know I was on a really long hiatus, I'm really sorry, but videos should be more frequent. Anyway, that's enough rambling out of me. I'll see you guys later.